South Africa's parliament in chaos as Julius Malema MPs heckle President Jacob Zuma. In our Music Maker segment, for this Ivorian singer, music is a family affair. And U.S. President Barack Obama plugs healthcare.gov in a way that'll bring a smile to your face. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Boko Haram strikes overnight with another violent attack. This time, the militant group's fighters blitzed a village in Chad where several people were killed, according to the United Nations Refugee Agency. It is the first known lethal attack by the Nigerian militant group in Chad.
The village is called Ngubua. It's on the shores of Lake Chad. We're still getting information about how many people were affected. We know that thousands of refugees were there. The reports that we've received, the town was attacked by about 30 militants using boats. They attacked parts of the town itself. The chef de canton himself was killed. We were in contact with a refugee during the attack, but the phone line went dead. We're still trying to find out more about the situation there.
Well, Boko Haram fighters based in northern Nigeria, just less than 100 kilometers from the Chadian capital, have stepped up cross-border attacks in recent weeks in their campaign to carve out an Islamist emirate around the Lake Chad area, which includes, borders Nigeria, Chad, Cameroon, and Niger. And now the postponement of Nigeria's presidential election over security concerns generated rumors that the Electoral Commission chairman, Attahiru Jega, had submitted to pressure from the ruling People's Democratic Party under threat of being fired. Here's what one civil servant had to say.
On that issue, too, I had expected the president to be very categorical in debunking the rumor, because the rumor had really made rounds in the country. And some names were even shortlisted, in court, But the president was economical when he was answering that question, because he was saying if Jegol had been there, he would have put the question to him. And he was saying he had the power to actually appoint Jega, and he did appointed him and all the other commissioners, and if he had wanted, he would have removed him.
Well, the Nigerian civil servant spoke with VOA's House Service reporter, Ibrahim Ahmed. Well, the South African parliament was plunged into chaos Thursday when opposition lawmakers prevented President Jacob Zuma from delivering his annual State of the Nation speech. Security officers entered the parliament and forcibly removed members of the opposition economic freedom fighters after the president's speech was interrupted.
Honorable President, I'm sorry to interrupt your speech. If the President would not mind just taking a seat so we can listen to this honorable member's point of order.
EFF leader Julius Malema halted the president's speech by asking when Mr. Zuma will repay the more than 20 million in public money spent on upgrading his private home.
We want the president to answer a simple question: when is he paying the money as directed by the public protector? That's all we're asking.
Honorable Malema.
At the heart of the upheaval is Mr. Zuma's refusal to accept an independent report out last year that said the president had benefited unduly from some of the upgrades, which included a cattle enclosure and amphitheater, and should pay back some of the costs of the unnecessary renovations. After the removal of Mr. Malema's party, lawmakers from the main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, protested the ejection and walked out of the chamber. Mr. Zuma then delivered his speech to cheers of support from lawmakers of his ANC party as he highlighted the strides South Africa has made since the end of white minority rule 2 decades ago. Well, for more on South Africa, I'm joined live via Skype from Johannesburg by VOA's Anita Powell. Hello, Anita. Now, hi. It's a day after. Tell us, what are people talking about? The brawl in Parliament or the speech of the President?
I think it's clear, Vincent. I mean, what was the top of your story? The brawl in Parliament. This has captivated South Africa, and some observers have even said that that brawl and all the fracas around it reveals the true state of this nation, which is to say, it's disorganized.
Now, in terms of the issues, do those issues raised by Malema and his group resonate with the rest of the nation, or is it just a very small group that is trying to highlight these issues?
I guess that depends who you ask. If you were to ask ANC supporters, they would note that the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, only got about 9% in the last election. If you go onto the streets of Johannesburg and you ask anybody, hey, did you see the State of the Nation address tonight? The first question many people ask you will say, they'll say, did he pay back the money? This is very much on the minds of South Africans. It illustrates the inequalities in South Africa and the feeling many people have that they haven't come as far as they would have liked since the end of apartheid. So I think this is definitely on the top of people's minds.
The question is, how has the president handled that particular issue after this moment since it came out?
Mr. Zuma is cool as a cucumber. He just went on there like nothing had happened. Sort of like, I guess, a bride who was jilted and said, well, you know what, we paid for the party. Let's just keep going. He didn't acknowledge it. He didn't mention it. And the next morning he said, you know, this is a robust democracy. This kind of stuff happens. So he's taking it in stride.
But the fact that he was re-elected, does that tell us that actually majority South Africans still think he's a great guy that should be leading them?
Well, the ANC won 62% in the last election, which is, of course, a majority. But they won 65% in the election before that and about 68% in the election before that. So every election, they're losing about 3%. For a party that's accustomed to having an absolute majority, I don't know how popular he is.
Very quickly, is Malema's popularity starting to become noticed by the ruling party?
That, I guess, is the $23 million question, Vincent. They're definitely aware of him. They're definitely aware of him as a threat, but I don't know how seriously they take him. The president said he wasn't worried at all about Malema. Remains to be seen, I suppose.
Anita, thank you very much for joining us today. Well, there is Anita Powell reporting live via Skype from Johannesburg, South Africa. Well, along with energy and economy, land was among the issues in President Jacob Zuma's State of the Nation address. He acknowledged that land was a critical factor in achieving redress for the wrongs of the past. Now, in the book, We Want What Is Ours, author Bernadette Atuahen details research and interviews with South Africans who participated in the nation's land restitution program and provides a snapshot of South Africa's successes and failures in achieving dignity restoration. Bernadette Atuahen is here today to tell us more about her findings. Welcome, Professor Atuahen.
Thank you for inviting me.
Why is your name troubling me like this? Atuahen.
Atuahen. Exactly.
And it's good to have you with us today.
You.
Land.
Yes.
When you talk about the issue of land in Africa, of course, we think about many countries that were colonized, but I think South Africa always easily comes to mind.
Absolutely, because in 1994, when South Africa transitioned from apartheid to democracy, 87% of the land was owned by whites, although they constituted less than 10% of the population. A clear result of massive colonial and apartheid-era land theft. But what many people don't know, even those who were extremely active in the anti-apartheid movement, is last year we were 20 years of democracy in South Africa, and only about 10% of the land has changed hands from whites back to blacks.
Now, that is a $1 million question, because it's a story that repeats itself in countries like Zimbabwe. Why has the process been so slow, and yet a black person is in charge in a country like South Africa for all those years?
Right. This is actually what I believe is happening is that the process is still low, number one, because the proper amount of money isn't being given to the land restitution program and land reform more generally. The process is going so slow because of lots of administrative hurdles. You wouldn't believe it, but the Land Restitution Act is the first act passed by the post-apartheid government, symbolizing its importance to the new democracy. But there has been no systematic training for commission officials. And so you have a lot of bureaucratic incapacity, right? Lack of capacity to implement the program. So there's lots of hurdles that are standing in the way.
Now, very important, you've written a book here which says, what we want, what's ours. And you say that more important than just even transfer of land is restoration of people's dignity.
That's exactly right.
Explain this to us.
Yeah, so in the book I developed two primary concepts. The first is this idea of a dignity taking. And that's the idea if I take something from you, right? The point is at the moment of compensation is to give you that thing back or something that's equivalent to the thing. But there's certain instances where I take something from you as part of a larger strategy of dehumanization or infantilization, right? And in that instance, just giving you the thing back is not enough because I took more than a thing from you. I robbed you not only your dignity, your property, but also your dignity. And that's what the harm, I call it dignity takings. And I say in these instances, mere reparations is not enough as a remedy. What's required is this larger, more robust remedy called dignity restoration, which is a process of giving you compensation for a thing within a larger process that affirms your humanity and includes you as a full and equal member of the colony.
Despite the fact that the process has been painfully slow in South Africa, you've spoken to so many people there. What do they tell you? Do they feel that their dignity has been restored during the process?
Yeah, so the book is based on about 150 interviews I conducted with people whose land was stolen during apartheid and colonialism, and they received some kind of compensation through the land restitution program. And so there's lots of findings, but one of my main findings is the importance of communication. And so, in fact, this idea of dignity restoration was achieved when the commission was successful in really communicating with restitution claimants, meaning explaining the process, letting them know where they stood in the process, answering inquiries. But oftentimes, there was no kind of communication strategy put in place. And so oftentimes people felt disrespected by the commission because the process wasn't explained to them properly. They would call and be ignored, right? Their questions weren't getting answered. And so over and over again in the interviews, people said, this commission is treating me the same as the apartheid government did.
Very quickly, in a few seconds, do you get the sense that the government is aware of these concerns of the people?
Oh, without a doubt, absolutely. And that's precisely why in January 30th of last year, President Jacob Zuma reopened the land restitution program, and now we're sitting with round 2 of the restitution program.
Okay, we hope it will be completed and restore everybody's dignity. Well, Professor Atua Hene.
Yes. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us here today. Bernadette Atua Hene is the author of We Want What's Ours and professor of law at Chicago Kent College of Law, Illinois Institute of Technology. Well, Italy and Germany have joined the United States, Britain and France in closing their embassies and diplomatic missions in Yemen after months of turmoil. As the Shia Muslim Houthi militia tightens its grip on power, protests have erupted by rival groups opposed to the Houthis, and the nation appears to be collapsing. VOA's Latza Hoke has more on the chaos in Sana'a.
Thousands have marched in Sana'a and other Yemeni cities against the Houthi takeover. The leaders of the Shia faction, coming from the northern mountains, have moved into the presidential palace and residence. They have dismantled the government and are forming a new council to run the country's affairs. They also have supporters in Sana'a. The head of the Houthi media office told VOA the departure of foreign diplomats will have no influence over the situation in Yemen.
The coincidence of the closure of these embassies in Sana'a is that they found out they have no power to control the will of the Yemeni people who rejected the foreign intervention.
Houthis have confiscated U.S. embassy vehicles at the airport in Sana'a. They say they will hand them over to the United Nations. There is speculation that Iran is arming the rebels and directing their moves. A U.S. government spokeswoman Thursday said there is no clear evidence of that.
Houthis have concerning relations with Iran, and we are aware of reports of a variety of support provided by Iran to the Houthis, but we have not seen evidence that Iran is exerting command and control over the Houthis' activities in Yemen.
Yemen's President Abd Rabbu Mansur Hadi resigned last month after the Houthis raided the presidential compound. He is a former military officer who led a unity government and was a U.S. ally in the campaign against terrorism. His departure raises fears that al-Qaeda will use the political turmoil to its advantage. Houthi leaders have said they are eager to share power with rivals and work with Yemen's traditional allies, including the United States. Meanwhile, their supporters carry posters with anti-American messages, and while they warn against attempts at destabilizing the country, they seem to be doing just that. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said Thursday that Yemen is on the brink of a civil war.
Yemen is collapsing before our eyes. We cannot stand by and watch. The country is facing multiple challenges. A dangerous political crisis continues in Sana'a. President Abd Rabbo Mansur Hadi, Prime Minister Khaled
Mr. Ban called for freedom of movement for Yemen's president, prime minister, and cabinet officials who have resigned. He also expressed concern about reports of excessive use of force to disperse peaceful demonstrators and arbitrary arrests of civil society activists and journalists. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, in our Music Maker segment, a Grammy Award winning singer from Ivory Coast. Stay with us. Welcome back. It is Music Maker time, and today Music Time in Africa host Heather Maxwell introduces us to an amazing musician from Ivory Coast in this special presentation originally produced for VOA's music program, Music Ali.
Hi everybody, I'm Heather Maxwell, and I'm here at the Barns at Wolf Trap, right outside of Washington, D.C. Today, I'm so excited to present to you Dobe Nyaore. She's one of Africa's most exciting performing artists. Dobe is from La Côte d'Ivoire. She sings, she plays many percussion instruments and guitar, and she's an amazing dancer. Now, this is their very first U.S. stop of their 2015 tour of her brand new album, Na Dre. It's all right here for you on Music Time in Africa.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, President Barack Obama stars in a hilarious new video to plug healthcare.gov. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Chad, several people are killed at a rural village in the first known attack by Boko Haram fighters on Chadian soil. In South Africa, President Jacob Zuma's State of the Nation speech erupts in chaos after an opposition party is removed from the annual address. The Sudanese government is criticized by the UN and the U.S. for allegedly obstructing the investigation into reports of mass rape in Darfur. Finally, in the DRC, the country's election commission on Thursday sets a date for presidential and legislative elections after protests calling for election reform turned deadly. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Now, everybody does it, so why not President Obama? Well, in an effort to raise awareness for healthcare in America, the president teamed up with internet media company BuzzFeed to release a video, things everyone does but doesn't talk about. Now, the comedic 2-minute skit shows Obama trying out different poses in front of the mirror, taking selfies and shooting with a pretend basketball. Obama then goes on to say that in many cases, Americans can get health insurance for less than $100 a month if they go to the website healthcare.gov. And yes, the video has gone viral. Of course, 15 million views. Not bad, Mr. President. Well, in other viral video news, this robot just won't quit. Boston Dynamics, the Google-owned defense contractor that has for years made robots that act like huge, terrifying animals, released a video of its own creation, Spot. Now, it's a 4-legged creature that only weighs 160 pounds. Cute, huh? Well, if you're one who buys into the whole robots will one day take over the world idea, you have one more thing to fear. Spot can be kicked by a human and stay upright. Earlier versions of this robot were larger and developed to carry heavy loads. Spot has been built for search and rescue or scouting. Eventually, YouTube users are ready for their robot overlords to take over. Now, the video has been viewed over 4.5 million times since it was uploaded on Tuesday. Well, and finally, a first look at the new Bond film. Well, Sony Pictures released an exciting behind-the-scenes glimpse into the making of a new Bond movie, Spectre. One scene even shows Daniel Craig high up in the Austrian mountains, dispatching a rival before firing a handgun in characteristic Bond fashion. Spectre revolves around a cryptic message that Bond receives from his past, which leads him on a trail to uncover a sinister organization. Now, the film, the 24th in the long history of Bond, is due to be released on November the 6th, 2015. Well, it's time now for Friday's Sports Report, and joining us now is Sonny Young with us, Sunny Side of Sports. Hello, Sonny.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. Let's begin in New York City, where the world's fastest man received a warm welcome. Speedy Jamaican sensation Usain Bolt, with his face prominently displayed on a big billboard, made a promotional appearance in Times Square. The 6-time Olympic champion again showed off his trademark lightning bolt pose, delighting the cheering fans. New York is where Bolt first broke the world record for 100 meters in 2008.
It's always just great to be back here in New York. First time I broke my world record in front of many people, in front of a lot of Jamaicans also. So for me, I know there's a lot of Jamaicans here, so it's always just a special place to come back to our family here and everything. So it's always just wonderful.
New York is also where the National Basketball Association will hold its 64th annual All-Star Game Sunday night. The popular exhibition contest will be played at Madison Square Garden, the home arena of the NBA's New York Knicks club. And speaking of popularity, the most popular player in the fan voting for the All-Star Game is sharpshooting guard Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors. He received more than 1,500,000 votes. Curry and the Warriors have the NBA's best record at the All-Star break, 42 wins and 9 losses. This is the second All-Star appearance for Stephen Curry, whose father, Del Curry, also played in the NBA. I'm VOA's Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports, sending the ball back to Vincent McCory.
Well, thanks a lot, Sonny, and be sure to watch Sunny Side of Sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night and a great weekend.
barnaamijka qubanaha waxa aanu bilownay bishii Julaay ee sanadkii hore waxaana hadafku yahay inaanu dadka u gudbino barnaamijyo muuqaal ah annaga oo hiigsanayna TV
qubanaha VOA waxaan ku soo gudbinaa qubanayaal goosgoos oo xiiso badan oo ku saabsan arrimaha Soomaaliya Mareykanka iyo caalamkaba
haddaba qubanaha VOA da kala soco website-keena voasomali.com
Through you, we become more informed, we can better perform, because sometimes you are the critics, sometimes you bring the info allowing us to be critics. So it's, you have become a part of our life, and we need you to continue growing.